Hey, Normie here with Brothers-In-Flaw Sports, and today we got a really exciting video or exciting stream, and we also have a special guest. But let me introduce my other host, Cuñado.
How's it going, everybody?
But our special guest is Phoenix Animation, and he's going to explain
Hey,
to me and Cuñado, like we are five, about hockey.
all
So,
right.
but before we start, Phoenix Animation is also a comic writer or comic
Oh
book,
yeah.
and he has one live campaign out right now and another
Mm-hmm.
coming up. The links are in the description below. But if you want to talk a
All right.
little bit about those two campaigns before we
Yeah.
get started.
Well, I guess that's cool. So yeah, we've got Reclaiming Zendara is out now. You can back that on Indiegogo. Basically, it's just a story. Aliens descend down to Earth, capture everybody. Nobody knows what's going on or why, but all of humanity is captured and basically taken to another planet. They have no idea why they're there or what's going on. And some, and they have to kind of try to figure out if there's a way back to Earth, how to get off of this planet that's filled with these crazy monsters and strange life forms and stuff like that. And some make it back and some don't. And so it's kind of an exciting journey with that. There's definitely a lot more to it, but just as like a quick plug in, there's that. And then with Galden, basically we're following a guy. It's 1,000 years into the future. The Earth has been taken over by demons. Humanity's on the brink of extinction, and come to find out that the reason being is because there's a tournament that's held every 1,000 years to determine who rules the Earth, and it happened because way back when demons and humans used to coexist on Earth, and the king of the city of Atlantis decided to get greedy, had his scientists develop a device to send all the demons to another dimension, and the celestial beings who created and oversaw the universe basically come down and say, hey, we didn't design this planet this way, what are you doing? And the king's like, well, we got our technology, we don't need them, and we don't need you. And so the celestial beings put humanity to the test.
Well, hell yeah, man! Both of those sound like super fun journeys.
Yeah. There's going
And
to be
they,
a lot of stuff. I mean, the first book for Claiming Zendara is going to be about 120 pages. Galden's 140. They're framed out for 5-7 books. So it's going to be a long, extensive journey for both of those.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I know I've backed both of them, and
I saw
I'm
that.
excited
Appreciate
about both
it.
of them.
And
So,
you saw the metal trading card now that you're going to get for backing the first one.
I did. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, that's going to be
Those
cool.
are pretty cool. Phoenix makes his own like metal like bottle
Artwork.
openers.
Yep,
and
bottle
things like
openers, bookmarks up to like 12 by 18 metal prints and stuff. And so I do Comic Cons and I draw and draw different comics and anime characters and stuff like that and sell it at conventions. And then I also, I get people where they like have like a photographer take like family photos and stuff like that, but they want it immortalized and something that's not paper and will decay, frail and decay over time. And so they get it printed on metal.
Hell yeah.
So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kind of a unique thing.
Yeah. No, I guess that metal trading card sounds pretty cool. And that's something that, I know this isn't my comic stream, but that's one of those little things that sets up the campaign apart. Is those little different things, because every campaign's got a regular trading card or something like that, but having that metal one, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's certainly unique. Very awesome.
Appreciate that, guys. Appreciate that.
Well, all right, Phoenix.
Yeah.
Let's talk some hockey.
Let's talk hockey. All right. Well, hockey to me is definitely the most action-packed sport there is right now. I mean, with football, we've got, they always get set up when, they run a play, then there's a little bit of downtime, a little bit of lag, and then they keep going. With hockey, it's full, fast-paced adrenaline almost the entire time. Obviously, you see, if you've seen anything with hockey, you've got 5 players on the ice plus the goalie, and basically, there's a lot of different rules and regulations to hockey, but it is it's fun to watch. It's definitely fun to be in the stands and see the action live, because they make sure that the music's bassy, pumping, the crowd's fired up, and it's literally electrifying. And it's something that I kind of, like I was saying backstage, I used to be big into football, really, really big, and part of, like, I'm still kind of, I watch a little bit here and there and watch college football, but like the NFL, for the most part, things that kind of upset me about the NFL is that one of the things was the refs basically playing gods on the field. They can make any bogus bonehead call, and you could see on the video replay that they are completely wrong, and for some reason there's no way to overturn that. Yeah. And so you literally just, you could have a ref in your pocket and just be like, hey, slide me one of those yellow flags real quick,
I was about to say, the New Orleans Saints know a lot about that.
Exactly.
Exactly. Completely justified.
A Rams fan down there. Well, alrighty. So you said there's 5 players plus the goalie.
Yep.
So what are those other 5 positions?
So you're going to have 3 forwards and 2 defensemen for the most part. So you've got your center, and then you have your left and your right. And it's, you have to they have to generally stay on their side. Like the person in the center can go to the left, just to the right of the rink. The person, like, let's just say the person on the right can stay in the right, can go into the center, but can't really jump into the left. So you've got a little bit of, and they kind of know, there's no like defining lines that show, but, they kind of know, like, hey, I can't really, as a right, person on the right, I can't be all the way on the, the railing on the left side. Like, that's going to get called for sure.
Okay.
So that's a rule, not just like a practice, like or a game plan. Like the right wing can't cross over onto the left side.
Not super intensively. Now there are, it becomes a rule when you're basically, if you've got somebody who's like, let's just say you've got the person on the left, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting somewhere in the middle, and then the person from the right crosses over and is more in the left than the left person, then yeah, that's going to be an offside kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I guess one of the things that you guys were wondering about, I remember on there, was what is icing?
Yes.
So, what the hell is icing?
Yes. So icing happens for a lot of different reasons. So, it's a strategy thing. So let's just say you're getting overrun, right? You're on defense. These, the other team's coming at you strong. They've got a lot of momentum, and you're worried they're going to score. You can literally chuck the puck to the other side of the rink. There's no actual strategic gain in doing it other than, drop it, ending the momentum for the other side. But once that puck passes the goalie line, it becomes an icing, and it's basically just an intentional shift. And that's one of the reasons why it's done, or why it's a rule, is because hockey is a very fast-paced sport, and they don't want people, they don't want to have that lag of time for somebody to skate all the way to the other end of the field to, to run the clock, so to speak, like we see in football.
Yeah.
Like I said, as a defenseman, it's actually, if you're being overrun, it's a good thing, because you stop that momentum. And we all know with football, if a team's got momentum, the best thing you can do is try to stop that momentum and get them shaken up, and in the hopes of turning that momentum around in your favor. And that's one of the things that icing does. It says, okay, let me stop this play. Let me gather my composure, let me get settled in, and let's try this again. But the only problem with icing is it brings the puck back to your side of the rink.
Mm-hmm.
So then they place the puck down. You guys have a little shootout, but there's a chance that instead of this other team having the puck after, they drop the puck, you can have it. Then you've gained control, and now you can start your momentum.
Right.
It's good when you have momentum against you. It's good when you're in a power play situation. A power play situation is basically where one of your players has committed a foul of some kind, whether it be fighting or slashing, tripping, high sticking, things like that, where they're in a penalty box for either 2 or 5 minutes, depending on if it's a minor infraction or a major one. So when that happens, you only are allowed 4 men on the rink, whereas the other team has 5. So you're at a disadvantage. So it's, hey, let me play defense. If I get the puck, let me shoot it down the rink. A couple of seconds of time will go by, but before they actually call the icing, and that's a couple seconds less time with a man at disadvantage.
Yeah.
So it's a strategic thing with icing.
Okay. So it just to kind of put it in my terms, because I'm not that big a hockey fan yet.
Right.
But so it's kind of like a clinch in boxing, like just
kind of.
Break your momentum and gather your wits, and so kind of an intentional penalty to reset, even though you might get a disadvantage from it going
being
forward.
On your
also
side,
breaking that momentum might help you out in the long run.
Yeah, and it reminds me of like in soccer. So if the defender comes up, they just kick the crap out of the ball just to get it out of the way, kind of reset and give them a sec, just to get the ball away from the goal. They're not kicking it to anybody.
Right.
So
there's a lot of similarities between hockey and soccer as far as, formations. But it's just hockey is like a million times faster.
Yeah.
It's way more ADD friendly, which is great for me.
So much faster. Yeah.
Right.
I think it's the fastest sport I've ever seen, like from the parts that I've watched. And you were saying earlier, being in a hockey rink, I've only been to 2 or 3 live local games, but it is probably the most fun live sport I've ever been to.
Yes.
I mean, they are moving a million miles an hour. It's incredible.
I'm telling you, my first hockey game, I'm sitting there, I'm down in the 100 section, and it's live. The music's pumping, the crowd's cheering. All of a sudden, these two guys break out into a fist fight, and these guys start playing the Mortal Kombat theme, and I'm like, oh, this is a party. Like, I'm used to football, so I'm like, oh, crap, these guys are about to be gone from the game. This is going to be crazy. And they're like, oh, 2-minute minors, and like they're playing Mortal Kombat. I'm like, okay, I'm checked in. What's up, guys? Like, I'm here. Let's do this.
Hey, 8-Bit Shinobi, thank you for showing up.
Yeah, well,
glad you're here talking some hockey.
Yeah. I had 8-Bit Shinobi on. I co-hosted a show with Black Rose Comics on Tuesdays, and yesterday was the last Wednesday show that we're doing. We're gonna switch up days, but we were interviewing 8-Bit Shinobi. He's got a virtual convention that's going on in Ottawa, which I hate Ottawa. 8-Bit Shinobi. I just realized I hate Ottawa, and let me explain why, 8-Bit Shinobi. Because you guys bought our goalie. We had Braden Holtby, who was like one of the best in the league, and he signed in the offseason a 2-year, $8.6 million contract with the Ottawa Senators.
Wow.
So I'm mad hating on you, 8-Bit. Mad hating on you.
But you were talking about the fighting, and I know back where I'm from, we had a minor league hockey team as well. And I remember the first time going, being a little kid, and they start fighting, and they start playing. Everybody was kung fu fighting.
There you go.
Like to get the crowd pumped up. And
right.
At some points, it seems like they kind of like they're just looking for that little bit of opportunity just to kind of get the crowd riled up. So they they just start fighting. Yeah.
Well,
okay,
I mean, you get
something.
Your situation. Yeah, you get your situations where there's like, some people, it's just like, I've literally seen guys that are like, they check each other a little too hard, and like they'll line up when the puck's about to drop, and they'll be smiling. They're like, nodding at each other, you ready to go? And they're like, ready to go. And as soon as the puck drops, like gloves off, they're fighting. And they know what they're getting into, but it's a good time. But there's other times where it's like, you've done something messed up. I'm going to beat the crap out of you. And that's what happens.
Well, speaking of the gloves falling off,
yeah,
that is the one thing that has always confused the hell out of me. You have these huge padded gloves. Mm-hmm. Why are you throwing those things on the ground to start punching at somebody that probably has a helmet on?
Because your knuckles are stronger than those padding on your gloves.
Okay.
You're out there to do some like you see. So that's the thing with fighting. Fighting typically gets a 2-minute minor penalty, which you think, man, that's different. You're usually ejected for the game for some crap like that. You know, with whatever sport you're in. If you're in soccer, all you have to do is look at somebody wrong, and that's it. You're ejected from the game because, you know, like they've shown videos of like soccer players like literally just getting like tapped and then being like, oh my God, my arm. And then you see like a hockey player get like Barry Trotz. We had a coach like 3-4 years ago named Barry Trotz, and he's there on the sidelines. This guy shoots the puck, which is frozen because it's been on the ice, hits this dude in the head, and he's like bleeding, but he's like, all right, it's cool. Let's keep this thing going. You know, it's a totally different sport. You get a 2-minute minor penalty for fighting unless it's something extreme where like people are bleeding all over the place, and then it goes into a 5-minute major penalty. But still, only 5 minutes that you're in a power play.
So 8-Bit Shinobi says, I know your pain we lost
Alfredson, yeah, back in the day. Mm-hmm. That was a good guy for them, and that was a heavy loss. And then they took a little while to recover from that for sure. I mean, and we're kind of the Capitals. We're kind of in that kind of situation now where it's like a goalie. We're so used to Holtby being our goalie, and it's one of those things where Holtby was the best, like hands down, one of the best goalies of all time. And it was one of those things where like our defense always played strong defense. But there was that kind of, I guess, assurance that they were like, okay, if it just happens to get past, we got the best goalie in the league right here. So it's all good. But now we don't have that. So it's kind of like that whole, oh crap, we actually have to, you know, be on top game all the time. So it's a little different. But yeah, so there's a bunch of different penalties that you can get in hockey. So we talked about icing. Icing is one of those things where it comes back. We've got fighting. You can end up in a power play situation for tripping. You could trip somebody with your skate. You could trip somebody with your stick. Whatever happens, you trip that person. It's a 2-minute minor penalty, and then you go into a power play situation. Slashing is basically just hitting somebody across like the chest or whatever with the stick or the arms. Like if you're if you know one of the teams on the other, you know, one of the players on the other team, you know, has possession of the puck and you just take your stick and like hit his arm so he drops his stick or something like that, that's a slashing penalty, and that results in a 2-minute minor. There's you can also get it for, you know, if you hit him in the face, because that actually does end up happening quite often where, you know, the player gets a stick to the face. 2-minute minor. And then high sticking. So there's basically high sticking occurs if you're like playing baseball with your hockey stick. Like if you're hitting the puck in the air and your stick is higher than the goalpost, it's high sticking. And you're not supposed to do that. There are certain nice things with hockey that you can do. Like if the puck happens to be in the air, you're allowed to catch it with your hand as long as you drop it right away. You're not allowed to like throw it forward. You can't pass it to somebody. You can't throw it into the goal. You can't. There's certain things that you can't run with it the whole time because that's not going to happen. So you're allowed to catch it, but immediately drop it. And it's one of those things where if you're like with people, like a bunch of people on your team, like everybody's kind of clustered together, if you like catch a puck and drop it and one of your teammates accidentally like hits it with their stick, it's a passing penalty, and then you get a 2-minute minor for it. Yeah.
Right. On these power plays and minors, so it sounds like if you go into the box, you're out and the other team is just a man up.
Yep.
Can that go? How many can you go, 2 or 3 people down?
Yeah, we've had 5-on-3s many times. I've seen one occasion where it was a 5-on-2.
Okay.
And that must have been terrible. Well,
Yeah,
and here's the other thing. Here's the other thing with these minor and major penalties, right? So if you're in the penalty box, you're in there for 2 minutes, unless the other team scores. The other team scores, and you come back out. That's done.
Oh,
but if
okay.
you're in a 5-on-3 advantage, let's just say you've got 5 players, the other team's got 3, you score, only one of their players is allowed to come back. The other one's still stuck in there for the remaining time, or unless you score another goal.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot of different things that factor into the power play, especially. One of the things that you'll see, and this is like kind of a strategic thing, if I'm down, let's just say I'm down like a goal, and we only have like 1 minute left in the last period or so, and you're going on a power play where you only have 4 people and I've got 5, the coaches will elect to pull the goalie to get a 6th man on the ice as an attacker. So that 6-on-4 in the hopes of scoring a goal, tying it up, and taking it into overtime. And you'll see that even if there isn't a power play, if a team is down by only like 1 point, like maybe a minute and a half left in the period, they'll pull their goalie and have a 6th attacker out. The only issue is you're leaving your goal completely, unmanned. So there's times where, the defending team will get the puck and shoot it down the field like as if they were going to ice it, and it hits that goalpost, and there it is, and now you're down 2 points instead of 1, and you're just like, shit.
Yeah, so that's just like a do or die, all or nothing kind of play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and so obviously every team wants to win. That's part of the thing with hockey, but our structure as far as like playoffs and who goes into the playoffs and stuff like that is different from football. So basically it's an accumulation of points. You get a point if you win, and you get a point for every goal scored.
So it's like the World Cup in soccer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But so the nice thing is you could play a team and lose like 5-4, but everybody else in your league could have only had like 1 or 2 goals, and you're still advancing further than those other teams. So
right.
there's more people want to score goals. They will obviously want the win, but as long as they have like a high goal scoring game, that's gonna, they'll be happy with that when it starts getting closer to playoff time.
That's a pretty genius system because, people tune in for offense. Whether it be football, basketball, baseball, or hockey, and hockey actually rewards that mindset. This is about scoring goals.
Yes, this is about scoring goals. This is about action. This is about fun and energy, and you being tuned in and excited. And they want to keep you in that adrenaline rush for 140 minutes or 100 minutes, because it's a 20-minute first period, then they have 20-minute break, then 20-minute second period, 20-minute break, and then 20-minute third period. So you get a full hour, but it's broken down that way. And the cool thing is if you go to a major league game, hockey is one of the most community involved sports there is. Like, they're constantly doing things out in the community. They constantly have people come in to play games. So in that time period, you've got a chance, that 20-minute time period, if you're in the stands, you have a chance to go get concessions, go grab another beer, whatever it is. They entertain you by having shows that are going on. Like, they have something called the Mites on Ice, which is they have a different 2 different little league teams. So like 5-6-year-olds actually play for like 5 minutes on the ice and like try to score goals on each other, which is like a cool, entertaining thing. If you're like, oh yeah, go little dude, go. Like,
yeah,
it's fun. And they do raffles. One of the things that they're actually, like, at least I know with the Caps, they're really into like these 50-50 raffles. So you pay like $5 or whatever, you get entered to a ticket. These things generally go up to like $30,000, and if you win, you get $15,000, and the other $15,000 goes to a charity. So everything's really charity involved with these guys. They're constantly giving back to the community.
I remember those games because the ones we used to go to, you could pay for like it was like a puck, and you had your number on it, and then at this one of the breaks they would say, "Okay, now throw your pucks on they would have like a space where it was okay. This is the spot you need to get to, and then whoever's puck was the closest to that spot won whatever it was. So everybody would just start throwing these pucks onto the ice.
Right. Yeah, that's cool, man. And then one of the things that they had, like I actually have upstairs, I've got a which was called a courage cap, and it was signed by our former goalie Braden Holtby, who I'm still sad about. But it was a courage cap. It was done for the military. So you bought that cap, and he autographed it, and all the proceeds from that went to supporting military families. So yeah, they're super into charity, super into giving back to the community, and that's one of the reasons why I especially enjoy going to a game and getting merch, because I know it's going to go to a good cause.
Well, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and they do like they're actually pretty chill. Like I know one time I was going, I was literally passing by the Starbucks in Arlington, and all of a sudden, Alexander Ovechkin just comes out of the Starbucks because it's right by the practice rink or whatever. And I'm like, "Hey, you're Ovi," and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Bro, can I get an autograph? You're amazing." He's like, "Fuck yeah, dude, whatever you want." And like just signs a bunch of stuff. He was just real cool.
You know, met Alexander Ovechkin?
Oh yeah. Actually, I've got a couple friends that have met him, and I've met him like twice. Jen, actually, my girlfriend, used to model and stuff, so she used to be in like the after parties and stuff, so that was kind of cool. She got to hang out with them, and so when I was like, "Yeah, I know," he's like, "Yeah," and so it was pretty cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. But yeah, those guys are super cool, man, when it comes to just meeting people on the street and being like, "Hey man, yeah, thanks for all your support, thanks for watching and everything," because they kind of know where, without their viewers, without their fans, like that makes them money. That's what pays the bills and keeps the league going. Every now and then you run into like a sports player or a celebrity, and you're like, "Oh, hey man, it's good to see you. Like, can I get a?" And they just kind of snuff you. Like,
yeah,
never happen would never happen. Like,
I hear
with the hockey thing.
I hear Aaron Rodgers is not the best one to go up to and ask for something.
I've heard the same thing. I've actually heard the same thing. There's a couple stories out there from people.
Yep. And even like the with the giving back stuff, or like especially with the military, like recently the Dallas Mavericks decided that they weren't going to play the national anthem before their games.
Right.
Well, the Dallas Stars said, "Hey, we're going to play the national anthem. Y'all come watch us."
There you go. Yeah, they don't mess around at all with they always have the national anthem going. They always bring somebody they roll out a red carpet onto the ice so that whoever can walk out. They salute. They honor certain veterans every single game. They'll have a couple and they say, "We're here to honor these people who served in this division of the military," and there's like a moment of silence, and they're like, "Thank you so much for your service," and then the national anthem goes up, and it's a good thing to see, especially because we're losing that value system in a lot of these sports.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to I know I have one question about the penalties. So you mentioned a lot of the 2-minute penalties. What are the 5-minute penalties?
So 5-minute penalties literally go to like the crazy, insane fights. Is really, as far as 5-minute penalties, I've always seen it for like those fights where it's somebody's bleeding like crazy. You've had situations where if one of the things that they try to do really similar to football, where there's a lot of penalties in place to protect the quarterback, because obviously he's the most exposed out of everybody. There's a lot of protections in place for goalies. So you'll see where if somebody literally hits the goalie like intentionally, that's going to be a 5-minute penalty. Now, if it's unintentional, they'll get a minor. penalty if they hit it. But there's times where we've seen like a player like intentionally push a goalie to try to get get space for his team to goal, and they try to do it in like a shady way or whatever, but it's intentional and they get called for it.
All right.
So really those are the only 2 times I've ever seen 5-minute penalties get called. So there might be more, but I've never seen them.
All right.
Let me see. I'm going to take a look real quick. Making for excellent things. Let's see. Major penalty. Let's see. Oh, there's actually a couple here.
It's probably like those like ones in like football where you didn't even know was a rule, or like in basketball where you're like, I didn't even know that you could do that. Yeah, I know one of the big ones in basketball was when a shot's made and you've been bounding the ball. Everybody knows you can run up and down the baseline, but a teammate can run out of bounds. You can pass them to it, and then you can run inbounds.
All right,
but you can't be the first one to touch the ball.
Right. So we've got checking from behind, which is one I have seen, and I guess I forgot about it. So there's checking where you can you hit somebody forward, face to face. Checking from behind is where person's just completely not paying attention. You're like getting ready to go back to play, and you literally just hit somebody from behind. You'll see it a lot if somebody's mad. You'll see it now a check is going to be a little different. There's 2 different types of checking that you can do. So you can check somebody when they're just on their skate, and that's going to be more of your cross check, which is your minor penalty. But when you do a check from behind, typically the major one's going to be when somebody's like trying to, I guess here's the scenario. So you've got your puck, the other team's trying to fight for the puck, and you guys are literally right on the edge of the rink, right there where the glass is. And somebody comes from behind when you're defenseless and checks you right into that glass when you're defenseless. That's going to be your major penalty there, because a major injury could come from that. Here it says holding or grasping the face mask. So that's another thing that you can't really do. It's similar in football, where you can't just be holding somebody's face mask because of obvious,
the neck.
Injuries that they could stand to the neck and stuff like that. Pushing off an opponent with a skate. That's something I've never, ever, ever seen in the NHL. So I guess if you're on the ground or whatever and you just kick somebody, because obviously that's just a blade.
That sounds like some Happy Gilmore stuff.
It's a rule because somebody did it.
Yep.
Somebody has done that before at some point in time. I've never heard that one, but it does make sense that it's a rule, because somewhere along the line, someone got off to kick someone with a blade.
Yeah. Like, I'll cut you. Here's one: spearing. So, if you decided that if you were trying out for the WWE and it didn't work out, so you joined hockey and you just never quite got over that spearing itch, that'll get you a major penalty.
That's just fuck this, throw the stick down and just, Goldberg somebody.
Right. And then it says any minor penalty that has been deemed deliberate with the intent to majorly injure the opposing player. So that can go towards your fights where you just intend to beat the crap out of this dude until you can't recognize his face. Like that'll be a major penalty there. But you get 5 minutes, and that's that. So
is there a way that you can get kicked out, like ejected from the game? Because a lot of those, like in football, you would be ejected, like doing it the first time.
Now, I've never seen somebody ejected. I've seen. Actually, that's wrong. I'm lying because I forgot about this. This guy got called for a penalty and then attacked the ref.
Okay.
He was ejected.
Yeah.
I remember that guy. But most of the time, you'll see is if like somebody has like a a 2-minute penalty or a 5-minute penalty or something like that, and it's close to the end of the period, they'll just, go to the locker room because they're not coming back out on the ice anyways. So you'll see most of that, but nothing really egregious to that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot in hockey because I mean, these guys are high testosterone dudes. They're like, screw it, we'll fight and it's fine. It's no big deal. We'll fight and then we're cool. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So, one of the things that I wanted to tell you about offsides that I forgot. One of the things that you'll see offside penalties a lot is, so let's just say you and me, Normie, are playing and we're going down the rink and I've got the puck. If you cross into the defensive's territory before me because I have the puck in hand, that's an offside. So basically the person who has control of the puck has to be the first person to break the line into the defense's territory.
Okay.
And I can't. So that means I can't. And that's meant to keep somebody from just sitting on the defensive end, just waiting for somebody to get the puck and shoot it down the ice because that's messed up.
So that does seem like one of those other rules, kind of like soccer, where it's kind of like that offsides. You can't run past the ball carrier.
Yep.
Or past with the soccer, it's you can't run past the
last
defender.
Defensive person.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a little different. You can't be the first person because there's a lot of times where you'll see hockey players just break and they get past that defensive line before anybody else does, and that's totally fine. They just can't be the second person to do it on their team.
Alrighty. So we talked about offsides, and so I know I see a lot of times where they're subbing. So how are the rules like with the subs? Because you'll see where they'll jump on the ice already before the other guys have even gotten off the ice.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about your transitions, and those happen quite frequently. They actually, because of how physically demanding being on skates and moving in that fast is, they try to rotate everybody. They usually have 3 different sets of people. And so they'll have, you'll have your first line people, and then in 2 minutes you'll sub them off. As long as they're basically, people are supposed to, ideally they're supposed to come out the second somebody goes in. But a lot of times you'll see where it's a little bit faster pace, as long as the person that's leaving to go sit on the side doesn't interact with the puck or with any players as they're in that transition process, it's fine. Okay. But you'll see if they hit the puck or the puck accidentally hits them or a player accidentally hits them or they hit a player, then you'll get called for too many men on the ice.
All right.
And then somebody will go for a 2-minute minor.
And you said, so they usually sub like every 2 minutes or so?
Yeah, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, you'll see a transition. And sometimes, depending on the situation, that won't happen, or it'll happen a little bit more frequently. It really depends on a power play. Typically, every team has their key power play people, which is like their key defensive people that they want to have out if they're ever at a disadvantage man-wise. So they'll try to sub them out when it's time to go into the power play.
All right.
Whenever they get a chance. Because whatever power play you've got, you're stuck with those 4 people. But if there's a chance to shoot the puck down or have a little bit of control over the puck while you transition to your better defenders, they try to go for that.
All right. Let's see.
Well, okay, so Normie, you got anything pertaining to the rules still?
Not that I know of. I don't think I do.
Okay. If you think of anything, obviously jump in. I had a couple of things looking like kind of like spiraling forward, especially, now that I'm about to become the world's biggest hockey fan.
There you go.
So we got the NFL draft, or the NFL season winding down, draft coming up in April. What are the details on the NHL draft? Like, when does it happen? Are there any prospects out there right now that we should be looking for?
The NHL draft, like that won't start. We won't start worrying about that till the end of the season. One of the cool things about hockey, though, is it goes on for a very long time.
Yeah.
It goes on for about 8 months.
Yeah.
Through,
Wow.
like it starts. Actually, no. So preseason will start end of August, and then season starts October, and then it runs through, and the Stanley Cup will happen beginning of June.
So it's just a continuous
and
process.
Hockey's always happening. So like the Caps, for instance, they had a game tonight. They have a game tomorrow, and then after that, they have a game in 2 days from tomorrow. So there's usually like that day, the next day, or 2 days after. Sometimes they'll take a longer period if they're like on like what would be similar to a bye week. It's just kind of like a rest period where they have like 4 days to rest, but you're talking about all these teams playing all the time. So it's one of those things where if you just like hockey and you're not dedicated to like a specific team, there's always something to watch. It's not like where you have to, once a week or 3 times a week or 4, basketball is definitely a little bit of a, it's closer to like the hockey schedule.
So the NHL draft kind of seems more like the MLB draft where it because it's such a long season, it kind of happens underneath, and then you kind of
it happens during the off season. It happens literally like a couple weeks after after the Stanley Cup, and that's the thing, man. With hockey, it's you're gonna get a lot. Like they draft young, like 18. Boom, you could be, if you're that good. Obviously, they also have a minor league for people to go at 18, get a year in, maybe 2, and then transition to the pros. But traditionally, when they're starting out in the NHL, they're actually really, really young. There was a stat that I read, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was saying that if you raise a kid right now, and your kid plays football, the odds of him making it from being somebody in high school playing to being in an NFL team is like 1 in 17,000. Baseball was 1 in like 24,000. I remember basketball was like 1 in 7,000, I believe. But hockey is 1 in 750. So if you've got a kid, it's obviously a lot more expensive to get into. Because you've got pads, you've got a lot of expenses, but you literally could, have your kid be in the NHL with really good odds, like the best odds of any sport out there right now. TJ Oshie, who's one of our best offensive guys, he was in the Olympics for hockey, he represented USA. His mom, he lived in Washington State. His mom used to basically put him in a league in Canada, and she would cross the border with him 3 times a week for him to do his practices and his games. And she dedicated to that. But at the same time, this dude's in the Olympics, and now he's a Capital, so she's taken care of for life. It's just like, oh man, that worked out. that was a great investment.
That was a good investment.
It's a better investment than Dogecoin. Jesus Christ.
So Gen Z says hi, everyone. Hey, Gen Z.
And I posted that's Lady Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
Jumping in to show some love and some support there.
Well, we very much appreciate it. Thank you, Lady Phoenix / Gen Z. Speaking of TJ Oshie, I saw him and Brendan Dillon wearing the Cobra Kai headbands a few weeks back.
Oh yeah,
like your Capitals are having a lot of fun this season.
They are. They have a lot of fun. A lot of seasons, like they're out there, man. Sorry to interrupt your question.
Oh, no, you're good. Go ahead. When
we finally won the Stanley Cup, they partied. They partied so hard that the NHL was like, well, we're going to need to start making some rules and regulations for who can have the cup and how long and supervision and all this stuff. Because, like, they went to a party and did a cake stand off of the Stanley Cup. It's like these guys went wild with it. So, yeah, they know how to party for sure.
They seem like they know how to have a good time, no doubt.
Definitely.
And they're doing pretty good this season. So, projecting forward, how do you feel about the Capitals moving forward? And do you have any predictions for the league 1 through 31. I mean, you don't have to rank 1 through 31, obviously.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna be like, oh man, I haven't watched that much hockey. I'm trying to put together 2 comic books. But the Caps are doing good. From what I've seen in the games that I've caught, which is a few, but not all, they have to get better on their defense as far as, like I said, they have to be fully on their toes. They don't have this experienced, amazing goalie that they had with Braden Holtby.
Yeah.
So their goalie's good, don't get me wrong, but Braden Holtby was a beast in his own right. Just definitely hands down the best goalie in the league.
Yeah.
And so I think they have to kind of remember, like, hey, we don't have Holtby. We need to make sure we're tighter on the goal with our defense and stuff like that. So I think once they get through that, yeah, they'll have a good shot this year.
Yeah, I saw today they were still 9th in the power rankings. So
yeah,
and then the previous week they were 6th. But the article I read sounds like they
had a tough time
away from breaking into the top 5 again. But my Nashville Predators are just absolute dick this year, which I just found out.
The Nashville Predators have actually been a really good team. They're having a tough season start so far. They went through a lot of player transitions in the off season, and so they've kind of got to get a feel for each other, and it's kind of hard. But there's so many games right now. It's so early in the season still.
Yeah.
We don't even start talking. Well, the league started kind of late this year because of the whole COVID pushback. Because they canceled the playoffs when COVID really happened, and we didn't actually have playoffs go until I believe they started in August or September. So they went through that, and then the Stanley Cup happened like 3-4 weeks after playoffs started. So they, instead of starting preseason August like they did, I don't think they actually started. They started the preseason, I believe, in end of November and just started the season end of December. So it's kind of completely changed the whole schedule for hockey, but there's still a lot of games left. Like I said, the point system with how many goals you score it plays a major component. We won't even start looking into playoff predictions for another 6 months.
It's an 82 game schedule.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, when they do, a game back-to-back days or like one day in between games, those 82 games go by pretty quickly. But yeah, you get a lot of hockey all the time.
I really don't understand how those guys do that with that. So I mean, basketball is one thing. I mean, they take a physical toll on their bodies and whatnot. And then baseball has 162. But I mean, honestly, there's not a lot of contact.
It's a lot of sit time for sure.
There's a lot of standing around.
Hockey is nothing but balls to the wall action and getting the shit knocked out of you all the time.
Yep.
I do not understand how that is an 82 game season.
I know. And then on top of that, you have playoffs. So playoffs is a whole other monster completely. Playoff hockey, literally teams have gone, winning the Stanley Cup and saying they've had bruises from playoffs for like a month and a half, and all because of it's back to back. So the way the playoffs work, right? So you go in, you're ranked. It's traditional system, championship system. You've got a bunch of teams or whatever, and they go, and whoever wins goes on to the next bracket against the next team that won. But it's the best of 7 games. So you have, and that's the major thing that ends up being, can make or break. It's who you're playing too, especially in that very first bracket. Because I've seen where we were facing Pittsburgh, and it went all 7 games, And then the next bracket, we went against the Rangers, who won their first 4 games back to back. So they had a week to rest before starting this new bracket with the Caps. And then it's like they're already exhausted because they just did a 7-game run, and you're expecting them to go through another 7 or 4, whatever. And so, I think when we had that season happen, we lost in Game 5. We only won 1 of those 5 games. So, playoffs is a completely different monster in itself. So,
yeah. Okay. Speaking of, you mentioned Capitals versus Pittsburgh. I know one of the things that was huge. I mean, it's been some years now. Now they're both older, but Ovi the Great 8 and Sid the Kid came in around a similar time.
Same year, I believe.
So who's better?
Oh, Ovi is better. I mean, Ovi has more shots. Like, and it's not even just that. Sidney Crosby is a freaking beast. Don't get me wrong. He is a beast. He's a monster, but he doesn't have the amount of goals that Ovechkin has. He doesn't have the amount of assists. And when it comes down to numbers, like that's that. Ovi takes that no problem, hands down. But Sid Crosby is a freaking beast, and I hated every time we played them, and it was like those two got matched up because they would butt heads the entire time, and they were cool, but they butt heads the entire time, and it's like, no, I need you to score, Ovi, so that we could win. I don't need you so focused on Sidney Crosby that you know what I mean? We don't have you to pass to. Like, this isn't good for us.
Yeah.
That. And it was funny because they would end up, our coaches would literally go, okay, we're going to play first period. And then they would see Ovi and Sidney Crosby like butting heads. And then they'd go, okay, so Ovi, we're going to switch you to the second line and switch somebody else to the first line so that they wouldn't be in the same time. So, that's another thing that's kind of cool is so you'll have your different strings. And if you see something's not working out, you could totally change the players between strings. You could literally just have your whole second string go as first and first as second and stuff like that. So you have a lot of maneuverability with your players. And so there's a strategy to it. So if you see something's not working out, you can change it pretty quickly.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of nuance, a lot of art to like such a brutal sport. I mean, so it's fun to tune in for both, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna get like a gladiator game and a chess match in the same thing, like at the same time. Because there's this. Okay, this person's out. Like literally, you look at players and it's you have to really look, but it's like, okay, this guy is, a little bit faster than this guy. I can't put these two together because it's bad for me, but this guy's a little bit faster, so I'll put him here with this person, to defend this person, and then I'll move this guy to here. And so you get a lot of that strategy going into it. It's like it's a war game, literally. So it's cool. Like I said, it's a lot of fun to see, and it's a lot of fun to watch. You get so one of the cool things about hockey is the shootouts. So it happens. It doesn't happen very often. It used to happen all the time. But what happens is if a team gets tied up, they go into an overtime round where it's typically it'll be 5-on-5. They go for another 20-minute period, and then they see who wins. And if nobody scores a goal, then they go into a second period. If nobody scores a goal, then it's shootouts. It's best of 5 shots, whoever makes it in. And so literally you're just standing there. The goalie's covering his goal. The shooter's there in the middle line. He takes the puck. He goes down, tries to do whatever trick that he can to try to get it into the goal because it's a literally one-on-one shootout, which is a lot of fun to watch. But when you talk playoff hockey, what they do is a little bit different. So when it comes down to playoffs, you've got your if they're tied up at the end, they go in for another period, but it's 4-on-4. So it makes things a little bit difficult for everybody. So the crazy thing is if you end up getting on a power play Well, you're 4-on-4, then you're 4-on-3. They could pull their goalie. It's back to 5-on-3, and you're like, oh, crap.
yeah. Really try to just end it right there.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things to be careful for, a lot of ways that you could quickly make or break a game. So it's there's a lot of pressure for these guys for sure.
I mean, there's one thing from all the hockey that I've watched, which isn't much, but it is high intensity, high pressure all the time. Like, these guys, I have said it, and I don't know how much I've actually said it on this webcast here, but I've said it to my friends and family for quite some time. I think that hockey takes the most skill out of any sport that there is. I mean, ice skating in and of itself is not super easy.
No.
And you're also holding a stick. You're covered in pads. You're getting your ass kicked. The puck flies 1,000,000 miles an hour. And plus all the rules that you've covered, I mean, it takes brain and brawn and instinct, and it is 1,000,000-mile-an-hour sport. And I super look forward to watching more of it.
Yeah. I hope you do, man. I hope you enjoy it. And you got to let me know how you got it covered on the channel now. I mean, football is kind of done for a little bit. You know, you've got baseball. Obviously, your March Madness bracket is super freaking cool. Guys, definitely subscribe to the channel and, you know, send these guys a shout and get on that bracket. A $50 Amazon gift card is super nice. Any free money is great free money to me. So, you know, there we go.
Right.
Okay.
So, thank you, Black Rose Comic.
Hail Black Rose.
All right. Last hockey question I have for you, Kanan, before we get out of here. Who's your favorite player of all time, and who's the greatest player of all time?
Ooh. Well, everybody knows the household name Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky was a beast, and he. It's one of these conversations I've actually had with Black Rose Comics because I co-host on his channel. One of the reasons why the 90s was so great was Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan, amazing feats, defensively, offensively, nobody could touch him. Now we have a whole league in the NBA that can do more than he did. So there's nothing really special that differentiates the players in the NBA right now, as opposed to Michael Jordan was this iconic figure because nobody was doing what he was doing at the time. Wayne Gretzky was a great player in the same regards because he was doing more and better than any other hockey player. Now we have hockey players that run circles around the numbers that he put up, but there was nobody in that time doing it, and he was like that iconic guy. Even if you've never watched hockey in your life, you've heard the name Wayne Gretzky before. And there was a reason. If you never watched basketball, you knew who Michael Jordan was. It's in the kind of same regard. So I think he's, in that way, he's the greatest player of all time because he was that iconic figure that kind of got people into hockey, kind of got that name out there that, you know, was that iconic figure that we could all look up to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
they call him the great one.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, as far as the best player, man, it has to be Alexander Ovechkin. He has the number. He's the number one for goals scored, number one in assists, and then of anybody in the league. Like he holds the record for most goals. So I have to say him. And I'm so glad that he's on the Capitals and not with anybody else. And I swear to God, they better pay him all the millions of dollars he asked for to stay. God dang it. I don't want to lose him too.
Do you think that he's a Capital for life?
I want to say so.
Right? Like he came in with the Capitals.
He came in with the Caps. He's lived. He's grown. He's taken his licks with the Caps. And I think we treat him well. I think we do. I think our management staff, our coaching staff, all treat him well, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
Because you know when you could tell when somebody's pissed off with an organization and they leave. And they just, it's. I don't think we will lose him. I think he'll stay at Caps for life, unless he does what Tom Brady did and say, "Oh, you know what? I'm tired of being in the cold weather for winter. I'm going to just pick a team and say, hey, do you guys want some Super Bowl rings?" Because that just seems like what he did.
I don't have to pay income tax here?
Yeah, right? Yeah, he's like, oh, this is summer weather year-round, no income taxes. You guys don't even have emissions inspections here? This is great. Let's hang out here. Get to go to the beach and see my wife in a bikini all day? Like, that sounds great. Need to tell Lady Phoenix we got to move to Florida. All right.
Alrighty, I think that's all I got. What about you, Kent? Or you, Cuñado?
I am all out of questions. I've asked everything that I needed to ask, and also have embraced all of the knowledge that Phoenix has thrown at me.
Appreciate that.
Tons of notes here. Like I said, super excited to delve into the season now.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing you guys talking about it. You guys have a great channel. I know you guys are fairly new, and I hope you guys all the success, and I'll continue to keep pushing out Brother-In-Flaw sports to people, and hope that you get a ton of success.
Thank you, man. We really do appreciate it. And we really do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime. You guys always, anytime you want me to come back on, man, doesn't matter. Like, we'll make it. As long as I don't have like a prior engagement with Black Rose Comics here. Sorry, Black Rose. Like I said, I co-host the channel, so I can't say anytime. But yeah, I mean, as long as I'm free, like, oh yeah, I'll totally jump on or just hang out in the chat or whatever. I posted up a comment on your last one because YouTube didn't notify me about your stream, because I was actually just working all day. I could have jumped on and been in the chat, and then all of a sudden, like, I get off of work and it was like, hey, here's this new video from Brother-In-Flaw. So I was like, I was hanging out. I could have, if you would have gave me a notification, that would have been cool to come on and see what these guys are talking about. But yeah, so, and then the crazy thing was, I posted up that comment. The very next morning, I get the notification, Brothers-In-Flaw. I was like, I already watched it. You're notifying me about this. So, yeah, man, just post it up on Twitter before you guys jump on. Tag me in it, so I get a notification directly, because Twitter's better at that. And yeah, man, like if you guys are doing something and I'm at work or whatever, hanging out, totally tune in.
All right,
sounds good. And if I can come on anytime, I will. Yeah.
Well, you're welcome to come on anytime. Anytime you want to come on and talk hockey, well,
there we go.
We'll have you on.
All right. I'm excited to see who you guys actually are, because who you embrace as a hockey team speaks to your character. It's kind of like in football, where it doesn't really matter what team you root for as long as it's not Pittsburgh. You're a chill person until you say I root for Pittsburgh, and they're like, oh, and I thought you were cool. Like,
there was a day and age, way back, or not way back, but some years back, when Ovi and Sid came in. It's like, man, Sid the Kid, man, like, he is something else.
Yeah, he started off really strong.
I wasn't a Penguins fan, but I liked watching him so much that I was tuning in to hockey by far more than I had been originally. And so I thought that maybe I was going to become a Penguins fan. I didn't.
No, that's
super derailed a lot of his career.
Yeah.
That's a real bummer for him.
Yeah.
In the Preds, was it 3 years ago when they were making their playoff push and Catfish on the ice?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that seems like fun. So.
There you go. No, honestly, the Penguins are a good team. I just more referring to the Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm cool with every football fan. In Dallas, not so much, but that's because I grew up in Washington, D.C., so hail the Skins. But it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I don't really like you, Dallas, but at least you're not the Steelers fan. Like, you could be any fan of any football team, you Steelers fan, like,
for me in college football, it's you can't. a Tennessee fan, a Notre Dame fan, or Ohio State fan, and I'm like, I don't want any part of you.
My brother's a Notre Dame fan. It's okay. I don't like him either.
But to be honest, the Notre Dame one is more. That's more an earlier generation, or like my dad's generation, like Alabama fans. They hate Notre Dame so much.
Oh yeah. No, I totally get it. They've got a lot of long history.
Yeah.
So cool. Well,
alrighty. Again, thank you for coming on. I guess we're gonna head on out.
Yeah, hail the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Thank you everybody who showed up. Black Rose Comics, 8-Bit Shinobi, Gen Z,
Justin Lawley in the chat.
Justin Lawley.
I have no idea who that guy is, but he made you guys laugh, so
we know who it is. It's a friend of ours.
There you go. Well, hail to that guy.
But thank y'all for coming by, and we will see y'all next time.
Boom. All right.